What is up, you guys? My name is Nick, and welcome to my channel. Whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. Since we're officially in the dead of winter, I figured it's time I share my personal favorite winter horror films with you guys. And I'll warn you right off the bat, I like my winter horror to match my depression. Seasonal, but bleak. Obviously, I could just recreate the same best winter horror movies list that we've seen a million times, so in order to keep things interesting, I've decided to not include movies like The Shining, Misery, Let the Right One In, and The Thing. And really quickly, if you do want to watch those movies, The Shining and Misery are on HBO Max, and Let the Right One In is over on Hulu. The Thing isn't streaming anywhere, of course, because that's the one we really want to watch. Those are all great, but I wanted to dig a little deeper to find some gems to share. So I've also decided to avoid most Christmas horror films because I think they belong in a separate video that I'll get around to at some point. There is one Christmas horror movie on the list, and we'll get to it, but I just want to say I know my list is going to be much different from everyone else's, so I strongly encourage you guys to share your favorite winter horror movies in the comments. Number 10 is 30 Days of Night. This vampire action horror is based on a comic book by Steve Niles. Set in a small Alaskan town so far north, residents are preparing for 30 days without sunlight. While a married couple is trying to work through their differences, a horde of vampires arrive, turning the town of Barrow into an open buffet. I have to admit, this is one that I don't truly love. I rewatched it recently and still found it to be a tad disappointing. Personally, I think this would work much better as a mini-series than a movie. Fingers crossed that happens one day. But 30 Days of Night definitely deserves to be on the list because the premise is just so irresistible. You got these vampires in this town without any sunlight, the harsh weather adds an extra challenge to the survivors, and things get pretty damn bloody.
Board the windows. Try to hide. They're coming.
They? Who are they?
Number 9 is Devil Times 5. Originally titled People Toys, this 70s slasher is about a group of violent children who escape from custody following a car accident. They arrive at a house in the woods where a group of vacationing adults take them in. The killer kids turn on their unsuspecting hosts, picking them off one by one. Listen, this is a pretty poorly made exploitation creepy kid flick, and it's 70s as hell. It may in fact hurt your eyes and ears because the aesthetic is the deadliest thing in this film, but I do find it to be genuinely disturbing, with some interesting kills for an early slasher film. While it mostly fits in the exploitation category, this did come out in 1974, just a few months before the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas, so the slasher fan in me has to give credit where it's due. And it captures that trapped in the snowy wilderness vibe that I'm looking for in my winter horror films. You can watch Devil Times 5 right now on Amazon Prime and Tubi, but if you do decide to watch it on Tubi, it is listed as The Horrible House on the Hill because for some reason this movie needs a million titles.
The Devil Times 5 leaves nobody alive.
Number 8 is Devil's Pass. This found footage flick is based on the bizarre Dyatlov Pass incident. A group of American documentarians decide to travel to Russia to find out what happened back in the 50s when 9 skiers died unexplained deaths. Unfortunately for our protagonists, they find themselves doomed to the same fate. Even if you aren't into true crime or anything like that, look up the true story and tell me it doesn't mess you up. While Devil's Pass isn't nearly as interesting as the actual Dyatlov Pass incident, I do appreciate what it's going for, especially with its bonkers ass ending. And can we just talk about how it was directed by Rennie Harlin, who did Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Die Hard 2, and Deep Blue Sea? Like, what are you doing making a found footage flick? I don't care. I'm totally here for it. Devil's Pass can be found on AMC Plus, and if you have no interest in looking into a new streaming service, well, I may have an extra reason for you to give it that free trial in just a few minutes.
Look at this! What is it?
The GPS is all screwed up.
We should just leave.
By the time we get packed up and get moving, we're gonna be hiking in the dark.
Number 7 is Frozen. This charming animated tale from Walt Disney Studios is about a pair of sisters who love building snowmen. Just kidding, we're talking about the survival thriller from Adam Green that follows three friends who are enjoying a day of snowboarding at the local mountain. When our characters go for one last run, they become trapped on the ski lift as operations close around them. Facing the harsh winter cold, the three make tough decisions as they try to survive. This is a pretty simple, high-concept thriller, so I don't want to say much more, even though an event like this would probably never happen in real life, given the protocols these businesses have. The idea alone is enough to give me chills. In fact, I think Frozen might utilize the winter setting best. You might not want to rewatch it a whole ton, but the tension and terror will stick with you, and you can watch Frozen right now on Hulu.
No one knows that we're up here.
This is so messed up.
Number 6 is Dead Snow. This list needs a little bit of fun, so how about we spice things up with a Norwegian zombie comedy? A group of medical students party at a cabin in the snow-covered woods when Nazi zombies are awakened and begin coming after them in viciously gory fashion. Sure, it follows the typical cabin in the woods setup that we've seen a million times, but it fleshes things out with bloody kills and solid situational comedy. I actually just watched Dead Snow for the first time, and while it might be a low-budget flick with a little too much bro humor at times, I think it's a total blast. It's not available on any streaming service right now. I rented it and found it to be worth the $4, but in case you're interested in watching the sequel, that's available on Amazon Prime and Tubi.
Jeg regner med at dere små bortskjemte snørrvalper ikke har giddet å lese litt lokalhistorie om området her før dere kommer valsende inn på den helvetes nedtraktoren deres.
Number 5 is The Blackcoat's Daughter, and now we're back to our regularly scheduled bleak as hell horror movie programming. Originally titled February, this occult horror film follows two teenage girls who stay at their boarding school over winter break. We also follow a mental institution escapee played by Emma Roberts who hitches a ride to the school. I won't say any more for anyone who hasn't seen it already, but know that it leads into full-blown satanic horror. And I know this is a very divisive film, it's not for everyone, it's very slow and character driven, but this is what I appreciate about The Blackcoat's Daughter. This is how I see it. Even though the viewing experience might not be the most entertaining, when you look at the story as a whole, to me it acts as a solid horror tale, something like an urban legend you might hear on a campus that we see in the movie. It's a brooding slow burn, but if you think you can get into it, The Blackcoat's Daughter is currently streaming on Netflix.
You know about the sisters, don't you? They worship the devil.
Ready to get even bleaker? Number 4 is The Lodge. This dark psychological horror drama is about a soon-to-be stepmom who is snowed in at a remote lodge with her fiancé's 2 children. As the three begin to bond, something sinister comes into play that threatens them all. Man, I cannot wait until we can openly discuss this one in the horror community, but for now, while some of you are catching up, let me just emphasize this is about psychological horror, the horrors of the human mind and human nature, and it perfectly captures the feeling of being snowed in and the harsh effects of the elements. Technically, this is the one Christmas movie on my list, but the Christmas aesthetic is basically missing from this movie, so it just feels like full-blown winter horror to me. Maybe it's on both lists for you. That's totally cool. I just rewatched The Lodge for the first time since seeing it in theaters like a year ago now, which is crazy, but I was almost afraid to revisit it because I wasn't sure if it would hold up, and it's such a punishing watch. I wasn't sure I actually wanted to go through with it again, but I found it to be surprisingly rewatchable. It's a very difficult movie, and I don't blame anyone for hating it, but its chilling atmosphere and disturbing content make it a perfect fit in the winter horror category, and you can watch The Lodge right now on Hulu.
What is this?
The power's out. Where are my things? It makes no sense. What?
I heard something.
Number 3 is Cold Prey. This Norwegian slasher film is about a group of snowboarders enjoying the slopes when one of them becomes injured. The group takes refuge in an abandoned hotel where they find they are not alone. And guess what happens next? This is top-tier winter slasher fun, complete with an intimidating villain, a creepy location, and solid characters that make the plot progression more interesting than the kills. And right now, Cold Prey is on AMC+, so yes, do that free trial trial and check this out along with Devil's Pass. And I just watched the sequel, obviously titled Cold Prey 2 for the first time. That isn't on any streaming service, but throw it on the list anyway. It's worth the $3. It's like the Halloween 2 version of Cold Prey. It's a ton of fun. Okay, before we get into the final two, I just have to say, I know that you are about to hate me a lot right now, so let me just ask that you try and hate me only a little bit. Number 2 is The Thing from 2011. Yes, I know that you all hate this movie, so feel free to substitute Carpenter's classic for this one, but I think this prequel is definitely worth a watch. A group of researchers gather at Antarctica to inspect an alien discovery. Once it breaks free, the thing begins taking over each of the crew members one by one. Listen, I'm with the rest of you in lamenting the use of CG in this one, but I rewatched it recently and still find it to be pretty damn entertaining. I think it acts as a solid companion piece to Carpenter's film while providing some freaky thrills on its own. It's got the isolated location, an unstoppable villain, disturbing deaths, and flamethrowers. It's got it all. And if you've been paying attention to my What to Watch videos, then you already know it's currently available on HBO Max.
We can't let this thing leave. If it makes it out of here, millions of people could die.
Number 1 is Let Me In. Okay, I get it, I'm cheating a little bit in including The Thing and Let Me In, but everyone talks about the originals all the time, and for good reason because they're great films, but I think these other versions deserve the shout out as well. In Let Me In, Owen is a bullied boy who befriends the mysterious Abby, a girl living in his apartment complex who only comes out at night. As they get to know one another, an investigation into a series of murders brings a policeman into their paths. Yes, Let the Right One In is a phenomenal film, and you'll probably see me recommend it in a What to Watch video any day now, but I think this remake, written and directed by Matt Reeves, is just as good. It's beautifully shot and hauntingly executed, the kids are great and keep things on track, and the winter setting, of course, perfectly accentuates the beats of the story. I think we can enjoy both the original and the remake. That is the beauty of getting multiple things, in my opinion. So if you haven't already watched Let Me In, or you're looking to give it another shot, you can watch it right now for free on Tubi.
You guys just moved in, huh? How do you know? I live next door to you. What happened there? Some kids from school? I'll help you. But you're a girl. I'm a lot stronger than you think.
And now it's time for my bad movie recommendation, because every time I make one of these lists, I have to talk about an especially bad movie. So why not bring up some direct-to-video trash from my childhood that I'm sure no one else loves? Let's talk about Shudder. This slasher film is about a group of young people who head to a mountain resort for a winter sports excursion. Of course, a maniacal murderer begins killing them all one by one. It's like the lesser Cold Prey, you know? I specifically remember seeing the trailer for this one attached to a bunch of other trash direct-to-video horror films of the early 2000s, and when I saw it pop up at Blockbuster, I had to give it a watch. And I found it a few years ago at a resale shop for like $5, and I'm not ashamed to admit that this is probably my favorite, most rewatchable bad winter horror movie. It's loaded with all of the cliches. You got bad acting, a weak script, uneven editing. It's all over the place, and I love it. I can't find Shudder on any streaming service, because why would any streaming service want it? But if you do a little digging, you might be able to find it right here on YouTube.
The next time we're being stalked by a serial killer, do not go into the basement. Come and get me!
That is my list of my top 10 favorite winter horror movies. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it as always. I'm sure you will have some disagreements, so please let me know what your favorite winter horror movies are in the comments. And if you liked this video, please do give it that big thumbs up. It does help me out. If you hated it, give it that big thumbs down, because that also helps me out. Leave your hate comments. I eat them up. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, where you can send me all of your requests. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know, because I'm working on some other favorite horror movie lists. Okay, you got me. You twisted my arm. I'll give you a little sneak peek. I'm working on a best romantic horror movies list. I'm hoping to have that out just in time for Valentine's Day, so let me know if that's something you want to see here on the channel. If you're interested in recommend subscribing. I would love to have you join the team, and I would recommend that you hit that bell and turn on your notifications. That way I actually end up in your feed. Thank you guys again so much for watching this video. That's it for this one, but I won't stop you from watching another.